So my name's Sam. I'm going to be doing a dream that I had um, probably back in, I think it was 2014 or so. It was something that was I've had like quite a lot of vivid dreams throughout my life that I've kind of remembered for like up until now. And but this one has been the biggest, like longest, most vivid dream I've ever had. When it came to, I started writing a lot of my dreams down when they like pretty much after this one, and I thought that I had written it down uh, for this project, but then when I went through my notes, I found that I actually hadn't. Um, and then upon rewriting it, I found that everything just flowed because I just still, after like what 4 years ago, I still remember every single detail like so vividly. So yeah, I am gonna call this dream Change, just because I think I'll explain a little bit afterwards in my reflections on it. But basically, it starts out with me being in a military bunker, which is located on a side of a hill. It's nighttime, and kind of in this sort of like cave in the side of the hill, and then the hill kind of comes down, and there's like a pond at the bottom of it with a trail that's lined by street lights and old oak trees, and it's quite sort of colourful, um, which kind of like a bit of like a fantasy sort of vibe, I guess, like just with the amount of colour there is, which is unusual because it's nighttime. But anyway, inside this military base, it's kind of set up the way that a old Star Wars military base is. So it's got like everyone inside is frantic and running around and all that sort of stuff, and you've got these those plastic like screens with maps on them and flashing lights and all that sort of stuff, and everyone's just going crazy running around, and I'm in a sort of position, I guess, of like a captain or officer or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but it's not really important. And we're all like the enemy's gonna drop a bomb on us. What can we do to stop it, or what can we do about it? Everyone's frantic about it, and so it's very stressful. And on top of this stress, in the back of my mind, I know that we just have to resolve this quickly because Jess, my partner, is outside the cave and she's waiting for me for us to just hang out and go do stuff. So I'm like, can we just solve this quickly, like so that I can just do this, so that I'm all good. And one of the guys, the classic guy with the like headphones on, who's talking to whoever, ends up like kind of like sitting back on his seat and taking off his headphones in that kind of just like given up, and he's just like they've done it, like they've sent it, it's all over, like that's it. And he's just like, just go be with your loved ones, like enjoy the last couple of minutes of life that we have left, because we don't know how it's gonna happen exactly, but it's like it's on its way, it's all done. So it's just like, cool, done. Get out of the cave very quickly, and then Jess and I are just walking along that street, and there's lots of people out on this street just sort of walking around, which is really unusual because it's like the middle of the night, and they're just doing like kind of the sort of stuff that you do during the day at a park, just walking around enjoying like the park and stuff. And I have this feeling of anxiety or extreme anticipation because I'm like, oh, there's like bombs about to go off, and Jess is just like, oh, whatever, we're just walking through stuff, super regular. And then this weird super loud noise comes from the sky, and we all look up, and I'm pretty much like, this is the bomb, basically, and it's coming across the sky, and it's sort of like flying across, and as it does, it's letting out these like a plethora of all these colors that are kind of turning into like a veil or like a blanket that's just spreading out really far across the sky, and it's all these different colors, and I feel like there's even like colors that I hadn't even seen before or something, like, and it was just so magical and beautiful, and everyone's just like, oh wow, oh my god, and I turn to Jess and I'm just like, look, like, this is it, like, this is a bomb, like, we're all about to die, like, we're dying right now, like, this is it. And we just like hug and embrace and tell each other that we love each other and stuff, and then everything's just engulfed by this like white light, basically. And then I'm suddenly in this new place, which is like reminiscent of my old school courtyard. And the whole place kind of feels like an institution or like a school or something like that. And it's pretty sort of busy with like a lot of people just kind of walking around and stuff like that. And I just find myself in the middle of a conversation, kind of that, like, I didn't walk up to anybody or anything like that. It's just kind of like looking around and stuff. And then it's just like, oh yeah. And like kind of stroking off from her conversation, and then you come back in, I don't know, dream stuff. And they're saying that this is a type of purgatory, and that if I walk around the facilities or whatever, then I can choose, I can pretty much find my next life, and I can choose which one that I want to go into. And then I was sort of directed to look upwards, and up in the sky I sort of realized then that it felt like I was standing on this, like a small planet, I guess, or maybe like a different plane of existence or something, because in the sky I could see the Earth, and the Earth had this like huge funnel that was coming out of it, sort of like a tornado that was like thrust out into space and stuff, and there were kind of chunks of the Earth around it, like the Earth looked like cracked and all that sort of stuff. And I sort of realized like that was the bomb that had exploded from where, like, I don't know if it felt like the whole thing was one dream, but I guess you could say that was like, I don't know, from the first part of the dream. And then the person asked me, like, what would I have liked to have done differently, or was there any like regrets or anything like that from my past life? And I said, I think I did like the best that I could, but I'm like, I wish that I was more successful and quicker as a musician, like successful younger as a musician, which was interesting because my past life was being the military officer or whatever, but then I referred to my real life, like, because me being a musician, and at the time I was in my band and all that sort of stuff. We were doing quite a lot of stuff. We were just about to record an album and all that sort of stuff. But so yeah, it was kind of peculiar. And then after that conversation, I went on to sort of like walk around this facility, and there were definitely like what felt like classrooms and stuff like that. And I came across this classroom, and I went inside, and it turned out to be like a cinema, like a theatre sort of thing. And there were a few people sitting inside the theatre, and I sat down and started watching this film. And then I got sort of sucked into the film, so then I was experiencing, like I was the person in the film. And in this film, it was, I was a female astronaut working on the International Space Station, like on the outside of it. in the spacesuit and everything like that, like floating around. And then something went wrong, like an explosion happened, and it spent through me, like sent me spinning through space. And it was so disorientating because I'm inside the suit and everything's just like spinning like a million miles a minute kind of thing all around me. And I just felt like that for ages. And then it kind of changed to more of like a omniscient view, like a third person view of then watching my body in the spacesuit spin into like nothing for forever. And then I realized that I had died just from spinning in space. And then that view then came back into me watching it in the theater again. And I just sort of realized, I'm like, that's a possible life choice for my next life that I could choose. And I'm like, it's just funnily enough that I came in at the end of the life, so I just witnessed, like, I assumed that maybe all these other rooms would show you what your potential next life could be. And for some reason, I just come in to the last end of my life to view how I would die in this life, sort of thing. And then I looked around in the theater and no one was there anymore. And then I went back out to the courtyard and then it was like pretty much completely empty, except for that one person that I was talking to. And I went up to them and I was just like, where is everybody? And they were like, they've all moved on. Like, they've all picked their next life. They've all sort of moved on. And then I just felt incredibly alone and unsure with what to do next. And then that was it. And then I woke up. So upon reflection of that time in my life, I was just quitting my full-time job to go study sound engineering for a year. And so it was a big change, and so that's why I felt like it was a change dream, obviously, you know, and being in like a school purgatory thing, it's like that's where I was going to, like, you know, to school. And usually back then when I was younger, whenever big decisions were coming in my life, or big changes were coming in my life, I would drop acid with my friends to sort of what I thought at the time would give me more clarity on the decision that I was making, which now doesn't really make much sense, but I guess it was like, maybe it was like a fun like celebration kind of thing to do with like, oh, change is coming, better do acid, like. But so I feel like that's maybe where the vividness and the length of the dream came from. I think maybe it wasn't too far after that doing acid that gave me that crazy dream and stuff. But yeah, I guess the feelings in it were all applicable to how I was feeling at the time of leaving something safe, the feelings of stress and such, like in the army base and all that sort of stuff, and then the change from obviously like going from one life to the next, and stuff like that. And I tend to feel things incredibly intensely, so that makes sense as to why everything's just, it wasn't a subtle dream, it was a very powerful, like potent emotional dream with obviously like the bomb going off and then me like being thrown into space and dying in that way, like dying twice, like experiencing death twice in a dream, and then the feeling of like confusion or being unsure and being alone and stuff like that, like those are all pretty intense sorts of feelings. So yeah, that's like the most vivid dream that I've had And yeah, thanks for listening.